Catherine always had a soft heart. She was the kind of person who would stop to help an injured bird, who would smile at strangers, and who would give her last penny to someone in need. Her life had been filled with love, kindness, and patience. But sometimes, even the softest hearts could be bruised, and hers had been bruised many times. It wasn't because of her kindness, though. No, it was because of him. Jameson. She met Jameson when they were both young. She was just starting her second year of college, full of dreams and hope for the future, while he was a senior, a brooding figure who didn't seem to care much about anything. There was something about the way he moved, something in the way his eyes held a certain distance that drew Catherine in. She had always been curious about people like him, the ones who seemed so unreachable, so wrapped in their own world. Jameson had never been rude to her, but he was distant. He never shared much about himself. His silence felt like a wall, and Catherine was drawn to it, trying to understand what lay beyond the hard exterior. They grew closer over time. Their conversations, though few, began to mean something to Catherine. She could see glimpses of a different side of Jameson, someone who had been hurt, someone who carried a heavy burden in his heart. But despite her curiosity, he never opened up completely, and Catherine, despite her kindness, never pushed him. She understood. Sometimes, people needed space. Jameson had his own struggles. He had grown up in a family that didn't understand him. His parents were always focused on success, on making money, on following the rules of a world that didn't care about feelings. They had taught him that love was something to be earned, not given freely. His father had often said, "If you want love, you need to prove you're worthy of it. Nothing in this life is free." Jameson learned to believe that love, to him, was something that came with conditions, with expectations. Catherine, on the other hand, was different. She believed that love should be unconditional. She gave love freely, without any expectation of return. She believed in kindness for kindness' sake. Answer: she loved Jameson with everything she had, even when he didn't love her back in the way she had hoped. But their relationship was complicated. Jameson was never able to fully embrace her love, as much as he wanted to. He would pull away whenever Catherine tried to get too close. He was scared of the vulnerability love brought with it, scared of feeling too much. In the beginning, Catherine told herself it was okay. She would wait, she had time, she loved him, and that love would somehow heal him. She thought that with time, he would learn to trust her, to trust love, to trust himself. But as the months passed, things didn't change. Jameson became more distant. His pain, though never spoken, was so evident in his every action. He would ignore her calls, cancel plans, and when they were together, he seemed lost in his thoughts, always somewhere far away. Catherine tried everything. She made small gestures, leaving him notes, making him his favorite tea, showing up at his apartment with homemade meals. She wanted to show him that love didn't have to come with strings attached. But instead of being grateful, Jameson grew irritated. "Stop it, Catherine. Stop treating me like I'm fragile," he snapped one night after she had dropped by to check on him. "I'm not some broken thing you can fix. I don't need your charity." His words hit her like a slap. "I'm not trying to fix you," Catherine whispered, her voice barely a murmur. I want to be there for you." "Then stop. Just stop trying to save me," he shouted. "I don't need saving. I need space. I need to be left alone." Catherine stood there, in that small apartment, her heart breaking as she watched the man she loved push her away again. It hurt more than anything she had ever experienced. She wanted to scream, to cry, but she simply nodded and walked out. The days that followed were some of the loneliest of her life. Jameson didn't reach out to her. He didn't even send a message. It was as if she had never existed in his life. The silence between them grew louder. Catherine found herself questioning everything: her love, her patience, her kindness. She wondered if she had ever mattered to him, or if she was just someone to pass the time with. Then, one evening, she received a call from Jameson. It had been weeks since they last spoke, and the sound of his voice felt like a distant echo. I'm sorry," he said, his voice low and uncertain. "I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to love. I don't know how to be loved. But I don't want to lose you." Catherine's heart twisted. She wanted to forgive him, to wrap him in the warmth of her embrace and tell him it was okay. But the truth was, it hurt. It hurt too much to let him back in without any promise that things would be different. She had given him everything she had, and it still hadn't been enough. "I don't know if I can do this anymore, Jameson," she said, her voice trembling. "I don't know if I can keep loving you if you keep pushing me away." Jameson was silent for a long time, and then, he spoke again, his voice filled with regret. I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know how to be what you need. I don't know how to be enough. Tears welled up in Catherine's eyes as she listened to him. She could hear the pain in his voice, the confusion, the fear. But she also knew that she couldn't keep sacrificing her own happiness for someone who wasn't ready to let her in. I can't fix you, Jameson, she whispered, her voice barely audible. You have to fix yourself. I can't keep losing pieces of myself to make you whole. It wasn't easy, it wasn't what she wanted, but Catherine knew it was the only thing she could do for herself. Sometimes, love wasn't about saving someone. Sometimes, love was about letting go. Jameson didn't fight her, he didn't beg her to stay. Instead, he quietly accepted her decision, as if he had been waiting for it all along. And for the first time in a long while, Catherine felt a weight lift from her shoulders. She had made the hardest choice of her life, but she knew it was the right one. Months passed, and though the pain of losing Jameson never fully went away, Catherine began to heal. She started to remember who she was before him, the strong, independent woman who had so much love to give. She began to focus on herself, to rebuild her life. And then, one day, she received a message from Jameson. He apologized again, but this time, there was something different in his words. He had sought help, he had started to confront his demons, and he had learned that love wasn't something to be feared. It wasn't something that had to be earned. It was something to be given, freely and without reservation. Catherine smiled softly as she read his words. She wasn't sure what the future held for them, but for the first time in a long while, she felt a flicker of hope. Maybe one day, their paths would cross again. Maybe Jameson would finally be ready to love her as she had always loved him. But until then, Catherine was content. She had learned that love, while painful, was also powerful. And that sometimes, the greatest act of love was knowing when to let go. And so, Catherine continued her journey, with a heart that was a little less heavy, a little more free. And as for Jameson, he learned, in his own way, that love was not something to be feared or rejected, but something that had the power to heal.